Hello, my business builder buddies. It's Erica here from E2 Paper Crafts. And I don't like to admit this, but I can be a bit of a procrastinator. And so I've waited till the very last moment to do a Facebook Live for the group. So today I have a fun card that uses designer series paper. I always love to find layouts where I can use designer series papers because, well, we all have a lot of it. And I'm enjoying playing with the Butterfly Brilliant stamp set and the gorgeous Butterfly Bijou paper, which I'm very sad to say is no longer available to order. But anyway, I did have a lot of fun with it. I actually created a little bowl filled with cutouts. I both stamped the stamp set using my Stamparatus so I could make sure it was inked up really well, and I cut out also some just from the other dies that come with the set, and I cut out some solid colors, and then of course I cut out the sheet that has all these beautiful butterflies on it as well. And I cut out a lot of vellum pieces so that whenever I create a card now, I've got a lot of things that I can select from. So I want to show you how I made this card. So I created this template, and you might want to create the same template so that you can use it over and over again. So you're going to start with a piece of designer series paper. So I'm going to make another card for you here. And so I've selected this one with the beautiful fluttering butterflies in a sort of like an ombre or rainbow colored effect. And so you're going to cut this to 3 3/4 by 5. Okay, and then what you're going to do, and I just use my grid paper because it's all sectioned off into 1/4 of an inch. Every square is 1/4 of an inch. So I basically, I'll just put these side by side so you can see what I'm doing. I basically laid down my piece of designer series paper on my grid sheet, and then I just counted the squares rather than pull out a ruler. Now you will want a pencil because you're going to put some little tick marks on here, and then you can erase them later. But you're basically going down 1 1/4 from the top and 1 1/4 from the bottom on the left side. And then on the right side, you're going to go down 2 inches from the top and 2 inches up from the bottom. Okay, so 1 1/4 is 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 1 inch plus 1 more. That's your 1 1/4. So I'm just going to put a little tick mark there. Then I'm going to come up from the bottom again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 1 1/4. Okay. Then on the other side, it's 2 inches. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 2 inches there. Same thing from the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 up from the bottom. Okay. I love using my grid sheet, and then I don't have to worry about dragging out a ruler. All right, so the next thing you're going to do is you're going to pull out your trimmer, and you're going to cut from this tick mark to this tick mark here on the right side, and then you're going to cut from this tick mark to this tick mark so that you end up with 3 pieces of paper. See, these are the 3 pieces here. All right, so let me pull out my trimmer. Now, you're getting out your cutting blade, which is the dark gray one. So I'm going to put this tick mark over here and line it up with tick mark on the opposite side. Okay, so it's just a slight angle there. And I'm going to trim that. So there's one piece. Then I'm going to line up this tick mark here with this tick mark here. And then I'm going to trim. So there's your middle piece. And then this is your bottom piece here. Okay, so this is your card here, like this. Okay, now I'm just going to grab my eraser, and I'm going to erase these little tick marks here. Okay. Now, you can decide to keep your designer series paper all on the same side, or you could choose to flip it over to the other side to get a different pattern. That's totally up to you as to what you want to do. Now, here's a couple of options. You could cut another piece of cardstock the exact same size and then mount this on here and then run it through an embossing folder to give it some texture. Or you can do like a card. Well, of course, you're going to have a card base. So this is my card base here. And this time, this one was a landscape card. And this time I'm going to do a tent fold card here. But then what you can do is you can work with some layers. So I'm going to use this Calypso Coral and So Saffron. So I'm going to build my designer series paper on top of my layer here. And I'm going to end up with some gaps. You see, I've got these gaps in here. So you can either do it on Whisper White or on any of the other colors that are in your paper. Okay, so I'm going to pull out my, and I've already kind of pre-cut some other elements here, so the video's not too long. Actually, that's not what I want to do. I want to take these papers. Okay, so I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to bring out my Stamp and Seal, and I'm going to put a bit of tape on here. And I'm going to create my borders around the outside edge here. So I advise you to do the top and then the bottom. Okay, and then the one in the middle will fall into place quite nicely. So here is the bottom. So as I'm live, I'm just looking on my iPad in front of me to see if I have any comments, and I do. Here we go. Miran is watching. Miran, I'm so proud of you for doing your video this morning. You were a professional. I'm not kidding you. You did very, very well. No need to have felt intimidated. You did a great job. So I hope to see more from you. That would be great. Okay, so then the last piece, then you can pop that into place. Now remember what I was saying earlier, that if you wanted to, you could run the one that's 3.5 by 5, mounted on 3.5 by 5 through the embossing folder, but there's no reason why you can't also run this one. Whoops, that's not enough of a gap there. Let's just pull that up a bit. Let's see if I can line that up a little bit better. So I apologize if my head's in the video. Good job, I recently had my roots done. There we go, that's better. Okay. All right, so there I've mounted those 3 pieces on there. Now, if you feel you didn't line them up very well, like this side is a little bit wider, then I'm just going to pull out that mini trimmer that we got, and I'm going to just trim off a tiny bit. Okay. Another thing you could have done is you could have, put some pencil marks along there to help you line it up a little bit better. However you line things up that work best for you. Okay, so then I can mount this on my card. Now, other options, you could add some ribbon on here. What I did for this one, and I'm going to do very similar card just to save time again, I'm very, very sad that these dies are retiring. I think that's just awful. So I've been encouraging as many people as I can to purchase these dies before they go, because they're just so useful. So I used one of those dies to cut out just a simple white circle. It doesn't have to be white. You can use whatever color you like. Okay, and then I'm not sure what I'm doing yet, but I've got some extra, these are cut out from the paper, so I've got a couple of extra butterflies here that I could put on here. And then I did this one. This one I used the intricate dies. Look at how gorgeous these dies are. They're just stunning. So I used one of the intricate dies from here and cut out this little butterfly with the back of one of the designer series papers, just to get some color texture on there. And I had also cut out from the solid sheet. I just used my vellum, and you cut your sheets down to, I think it was 5 by 6, and then just run that whole thing through, the entire butterfly die, to create a whole bunch of different butterflies that you can use. So I did that with the vellum too. I love it mounted on the vellum, and then I put a few little pearls on there. Isn't that just the sweetest little thing? And then I could just mount that on there. I'm not sure that I need this butterfly here. Let's see what else I've got in my little bowl here. I could, you can run your vellum through an embossing folder as well. That would make a very pretty butterfly. And I've got some pinks in this paper too, and I've got some turquoise. So maybe instead of 2 of these, I could pull in 1 or 2 of these instead. I think I like that better than this butterfly. So you could add a few more butterflies, although I do want to add a thinking of you here. And I'm going to use a different punch this time. So this was the tailored tag topper punch, and I cut out an extra piece of cardstock and just, you know, I just layered it and just dropped it down a little bit to give it a bit of a shadow look or a dimensional look. And I popped these up on dimensionals. But this time I think I'm going to do the thinking of you. Here I've got my scrap paper here. So I think... And I'm going to pick up a color from here. This one I did in the purple. This one I think I'll do in the Bermuda Bay. So let's pull down Bermuda Bay. And I think I'm going to stamp that here, thinking of you. There we go. And then I'm going to use a different punch. Here it is. I'm going to use this everyday label punch and punch this out. Oh, I stamped that a bit crooked. That's okay. I'll just line it up in the punch. So thinking of you. There we go. And I'm going to punch it again like I did with that other card. I'm going to punch it again with So Saffron. And I'll do that same thing, do a bit of that shadowing. And I'll show you actually another technique too for doing your labels. So I'm going to do this. I'm actually going to do it like this, something even a little bit more different. You see how I've created 2 sides. Another thing you can do is you can cut it right in half and then layer a little bit at the top and a little bit at the bottom as well. There's always lots of ideas for how you do your greetings. So I'm just going to slip this on here like this, drop it down a bit. Give it a bit of a border at the top, like so. And I'll also pop this up on dimensionals. So let's close our ink pad. And if you're wondering what stamp set I used for the greetings, this happy birthday and this thinking of you, I purchased from the annual catalog the Happy Thoughts. This is retiring. I'm very sad to see it go. But it's got some great, you know, basic greetings in here. So I'm going to be keeping this in my stash because it's quite handy just to grab when you want a happy birthday thank you or a thinking of you. Okay. Or just because card, just wanted to send some happy thoughts your way. I love that greeting as well. All right, so let's flip this over and we'll put on a couple of dimensionals on the back. Okay, and I won't take off the release paper until I get my card mostly glued down. Okay, so I'm going to start with, I'm trying to decide whether I should do ribbon on this card. I don't think I will because this is going to sit down here like that. And then my butterfly is on top. So yeah, we'll forego ribbon this time. So let's flip this over. So now that I have found this layout, I can make a set of cards. This would also be a fun layout to do a one sheet wonder. You know, you could take an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, stamp a whole bunch of not greetings, sorry. Well, you could do greetings, I guess, but you could stamp a whole bunch of different images and then cut it into 4 panels and then trim them down to create 4 pieces of handmade designer series paper and then make some cards. That would be kind of fun to do too. I love one sheet wonders, but you know, honestly, when I think of how many papers we have that retire and then we want to use up, you might want to just start with that. Okay, am I almost out? Yeah, I'm almost out. That's why I'm struggling. All right, so here's my card base, and I'm just gonna, I like to hover and kind of eyeball all 4 sides to make sure I get it in the center as best I can. And then I go ahead and lay it down. That's the method that works best for me. All right, now we have our circle here, and we've got our greeting here. I like to lay things out ahead of time to decide what I want to do. Now I love this butterfly. I've had this lying around for quite a while. That is very, very sweet. Not quite sure what to do with that. I don't know. I kind of think just the one butterfly, like on this card, you don't want, you know, too much. That's too much, I think. We'll reserve these for another project. Okay. So I'm just going to grab my Tombow liquid glue and I'm going to scribble some glue, and I'll put this up here like that. Now these I curled a little bit, and I just used my fingers because it's very delicate. Okay. And to glue this butterfly onto the vellum, I just used a tiny bit of Tombow glue. Okay, and then I'll just put a little tiny Tombow glue on the back. You don't want it where you're going to see it. And I'll just stick that on like that. And then we will go ahead and peel off our backing. And then stick this on. Like so. And there's your card. So there's 2 examples for you. So remember the embossing trick. That's kind of a very, very cool technique to use. So thank you so much for stopping by and watching. I hope you enjoyed that.